What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be looking at the Portico 75 from TheKey.Company. They just came out with this board and it looks pretty cool, and I'm excited to get this thing opened up. It comes with this case, and let's go ahead and open it up. It's all strapped in. Had a little bit of trouble getting this thing out because the flaps just kept getting stuck. And here's your actual keyboard. It comes pre-assembled, so we're gonna have to actually take this thing apart and get in there. Has a rotary knob. Also, it comes with some C3 equal stabs, but I'm gonna be honest, I think they're garbage. I have these on 2 of my keyboards and I don't really like them. I get a lot of rattle after a little bit of time of use, and when you try to band-aid mod them, there's not enough space to actually get the wires in there properly, so you get a really mushy switch. It also comes with this little toolkit, and I'm really liking this toolkit because it's a starter keyboard build kit, so it comes with everything you need to actually get going in the hobby. It comes with a little screwdriver and an Allen key, then you have your cable. Also, you get a switch puller, and I actually really like this switch puller, so I'm probably gonna end up using this one over the one I have already. But yeah, and then you get extra dampening pads for your gasket mount, and then silicone feet for the bottom of the case. And then we also have a couple extra things. It comes with some tweezers. You have extra screws if you do happen to need them. And then finally, you get your keycap puller. So let's get all this stuff moved to the side and let's open up this board. Alright, so now that we have all the screws out, we're going to take off the top case. So you can see where they have the pour on for your gasket mount. And got extras just in case you do need them. Yeah, and now you have your silicone dampening pad. I really like the hexagon designs. I think it looks really cool. And then right here you have your USB-C port. I'm glad that it came disattached already because I didn't even check, and I probably would have ripped it out because I just straight up pulled the PCB out. So let's get that to the side, and then let's get this switch plate popped off. Alright, for the knob, there's an Allen key that you actually use. So you'll just use the Allen key, if I can actually get it, and then slightly unscrew it, and the knobs will pop right off. So here's your switch plate. I got the FR41, and it looks cool, and it actually seems pretty durable. So we'll get that to the side. And then right underneath, we have our PCB and switch dampening pad. It's a felt type material, so yeah. We'll get that off to the side. And then now we can go ahead and put on our stabs. I'm going to be using Durock V2 stabs. Okay, so now that my stabs are all good, we can go ahead and get these things popped off. And then take off all these switches as well, and then we can go ahead and start putting this thing back together. Make sure when you're popping off your switches that you're holding the PCB down, because you don't want to bend it or at all or cause any damage while you're doing it. So just make sure, secure your PCB, pull out your switches, and then you're ready to go. Now that we're done pulling off the switches, we're good to go to put our board back together. Alright, now that we have that off, we can go ahead and put back our plate and PCB material. And then right after that, we'll put on our top plate back on. Once we have the switch plate on, go ahead and get your screws and secure them back together. So for the knob, you're going to notice that on the rotary dial, there's a little notch. And what you want to do is that notch is where the screw sits. So just make sure the screw lines up with that. And then once you have that lined up, you can go ahead and pop that on and then just slightly tighten it. You don't want to over tighten, because then it's going to be a pain to get it off, and you could actually damage the threads if you tighten it too much. So just tighten enough to where it's secure and you're good to go. Now that we have that set, we can go ahead and put this back together all the way, and let me just move all the extra stuff out of the way. So now we're going to go ahead and get our bottom case, and we're going to attach the USB-C to the actual PCB. So this gave me a little bit of trouble, so as you see, I'm gonna have a hard time. Just make sure when you're plugging this in that you line up the pins and you make sure it's facing the right direction, because if not, you run the risk of actually damaging the pins. Cool, now that we have that plugged in, we can go ahead and flip this over and make sure that the gasket mounts line up on the bottom case where they're supposed to. There's little slots where you'll be able to see where they actually line up, and then you can go ahead and put your top case back on. Once we have that on, we'll just hold it and then flip it over, and you just want to make sure you hold it because it doesn't lay flat, and then you put your screws back in. Now that we're done with that part, our whole board is pretty much put together, and the only step left is to put the silicone feet onto the bottom of the case. I think by default they come with clear ones, and it works out for me because it matches my board. But yeah, once they're on there, they're not really that noticeable, so cool. Now that we have those on there, the only thing we have left to do is get switches on this board. I'm going to be using some Everglide Aqua Kings for all the alphas and the mods, and I don't actually have enough, so I'm going to be using some Durock L series to fill up the rest of them. Well, okay guys, so for the switches, I'm going to be using the Hippo Keycaps made by Kinetic Labs and Polycaps. I'm a big fan of Hippo, so when I saw that he made some keycaps, I couldn't resist. I had to get them, and I thought they would look good on this board, so why not give them a shot? Let's get these opened up. And yeah, they do look good, just like I expected. So now our next step is going to be to put on our keycaps, and let's see what this looks like. So for the enter key, we actually have this kind of custom one where it's Hippo butts, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on because why not? I have this nice little Gengar Artisan that I got, and I'm actually going to use this one to fill up the slot right next to the F12 key. I just think it's going to look cool on the board, and it just so happens to kind of match. So for the escape key, this keycap set actually comes with the standard escape key, but I don't really want to use that one. I have a bunch of extra keycaps that I could use to make the board a little bit more quirky, and I think I'm going to end up using this one. It's a little hippo just poking its head out of the water, and it looks pretty cool. And then for these two underneath the rotary knob, I don't know what I'm going to use yet, but I'm probably going to end up going with, let's see, this one right here. We got another hippo butt. Why not? And then this next one, it looks like it's a little hippo hand waving. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I don't know what hippo's hands look like. Cool, so now that we have all the keycaps on, this is what the board looks like. And I actually really like it. It looks pretty good so far. I like the way it looks. The aesthetics of it is pretty nice. I like the knob. And now let's go ahead and get this thing plugged in and see what it looks like. So I know this thing is VIA compatible and it comes pre-flashed, so you actually don't have to download any extra stuff other than having the VIA software. So let's go ahead and open up VIA, and we're gonna go ahead and test all the switches. So for the first function key, we have the cycle lighting effects. So F1 and F2 will cycle through your lighting effects, and we got quite a bit of options. And there is some underglow, so you can actually see it pretty well on the desk. So when you cycle back, you can't cycle all the way through. Basically, once you get to the top of the list of the light settings, it just stops. And then when you go down all the way, it'll actually turn off the RGB. So for this one, F3, we got hue, and it's actually the hue of the first color. Then we have the saturation of the first color. Next, we have hue 2, so you can independently change the second RGB color, and then the saturation for 2, and then your last two buttons will be your brightness up and down. So just for the sake of the video, I'm going to max out the brightness. And for hue 1, let's see what color looks good. I'm probably going to go with like a purple color just to match the keycaps, and then to the accent, maybe, let's see, we'll use a pink, because the pink and purple just seem to match the keycaps pretty well, so we'll go with that. And yeah, that's pretty much how it looks. I'm going to go ahead on the matrix and look at what these are assigned as. So the rotary knob is defaulted to volume up and down, and then it mutes if you click it. My Gengar cap is set to print, home and delete. So now we're gonna go see what our board looks like with the lights off. And it looks pretty damn good. It has really strong RGBs, better than most other boards that I've seen. I've gotten some clear boards where the RGBs are nowhere near this good, and the underglow is actually really good on this. It's shining through pretty well on my desk mat. So we'll get the lights back on. And yeah, that is our Portico 75. That is pretty much it. All we have left to do is a type test, so stay tuned.